John McWhorter, who's not a Christian, I don't know if he's an agnostic or an atheist. He's a black man. He's an intellectual, and he wrote a book called Woke Religion, of the incredible harm that's happening in the black community as a result of critical race theory and this worldview of whiteness as property, and only whites can be racist, and just the dumbing down that has a negative impact on the black community. So that's just one of these critical theories. Yeah. And he writes an excellent book. And so, the impact of the divisiveness, and it's really completely reductionist. I mean, the nuances and the complexity of systems of relationships, and, to look at every relationship through the lens of power. Who's the oppressor? Who's the oppressed? What about love? What about forgiveness? What about kindness? What about interpersonal relationships that are built on something so much more profound than the oppressor-oppressed dialectic? It's just so nuanced. It's just so shortcoming. It's actually horrible to look at. It is. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt, but it is. It's. I feel like we're going backwards. We're reducing ourselves to melanin. We're reducing ourselves to suddenly all the stuff we figured out about gender roles. We've decided that we're going to throw that in the garbage too. All the great leaps that we actually have made of actual progression, I feel like we're just throwing them in the garbage. We're so obsessed with melanin. We're obsessed with oppression and the different roles, whether that be somebody who is in the LGBTQ with a bazillion letters and numbers behind it now because I can't keep up. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. That's all we think about. Oppressed, 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 victim, 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 a million labels. It's reductionist. It's shallow. It's vapid, and it's really hurting people. And we're losing, as you said, the sense of actual goodness. Or you hear of people that have spent their whole life in service to a cause or a job or something that actually is helping people, and then suddenly, because they're not on board with some element of this ideology, they're thrown in the trash. They're smeared in the media. They're considered, basically, don't touch them. Don't go anywhere near them. They're bad. And we lose all the good actual work, the tangible work that people are doing, because it doesn't sound nice based on this new worldview, based on this new lens. It's ridiculously harmful. It doesn't pan out to anything positive, like as a society. Again, as breaking down the family. It doesn't help with the relationships between our spouses. I mean, if I was just to sit here and look at my marriage as some sort of patriarchal power struggle between sexes, are we really going to have a good marriage? Now, does that mean I promote abuse? Of course not. Does that mean that I don't recognize maybe I don't think it's privilege. Yeah, men are maybe have a stronger power element over women just by base of sheer size and strength. Sure, there's risks that women have that men don't have when they walk home from a bar at night. All of these things are real, but instead of just looking at them as part of reality, we've changed them through this lens of oppression as these causes that we're always championing, and someone has to be the victim. And my question is, where does it end? So if it's racial reparations or whatever it is, at what point do we say, okay, good, we're even, everything's peaceful, and this is utopia? Does that ever actually happen?
It never
ends. Exactly. And there's no forgiveness. There's no sense of repentance. There's no redemption. We were talking about at the beginning of before we went on air here, that there's no sense of repentance, that this ideology is very focused on the sins of others and very rarely on the sins of yourself. And so there's no repentance, and therefore there can be no redemption. People like to talk about Christianity as being this, God is so mean and all these rules and it's so strict. And I would question whether people in the SJW ideology, do you not see how strict the rules are? Because I know what it's like to be sort of kicked out or pushed to the side because I didn't talk like them, because I didn't believe. I either had to be literally in tears, literally shaking, essentially, because Trump was getting in. I couldn't just dislike him. I couldn't just disagree with him. I had to be terrified. And if I wasn't, it's because I had so much privilege, my cis normative hetero privilege. It was just, you can't win. You're never going to be woke enough. I don't know who's in charge of this crazy sort of cultish idea, but you cannot ever attain the level of righteousness that you need. It's a works-based religion. You are constantly trying to be better. That is not Christianity. You can hate Christianity if you want, but the grace that Christianity actually offers in all of this is, it's like nothing else I could describe. And it has nothing to do with this works-based, constantly trying to like be white and clean and perfect so that you don't ever make a social sin or say the wrong thing or have the wrong belief. I mean, it was very hard to keep up. I'll say that. I never felt like I was doing enough. And then when you make a mistake, you're ousted, you're gone, you're unsafe, you're a bigot. And I mean, I ran for politics. Sorry, go ahead.
You're never completed. And juxtaposing it to come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest in your souls. Learn from me. You know, that it's just the absolute opposite of the Christian message of redemption.
Truly, it truly is. Yeah. And so progressive Christianity is interesting too, because it's infected the church as well, which you don't have time to get into. But this idea that Jesus was some kind of, I guess, just a hippie. I don't know. They forget that there was a lot of truth bombs he dropped in there too. He flipped a few tables. You know, there was a lot going on. He was here to love. Yes, 100%. Yeah. But he was here to speak truth in love. He sat with sinners, but he told sinners to sin no more. He didn't encourage them to keep doing it. And I think that whether you're looking at it from a spiritual worldview or just a political worldview, there is a way to speak truth in love. There is a way to denounce dark practices without, you know, hating or judging the people who are involved in them or who are sucked into them. A lot of people are just, you know, I do encourage compassion, because a lot of people sucked into this, they're hurting. They have something going on in their life. They don't feel right. They don't feel whole. You know, whether it's gender dysphoria, whether it's the critical race stuff, whatever we're talking about, these big sort of hot button social issues, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of unhealed hurts. There's trauma. There's abuse. There's senses of being insecure. There's bullying. There's all kinds of stuff going on. There's stuff that I don't understand because I grew up, thankfully, before all this cyber bullying stuff, all this social media, you make one mistake and it's on the internet forever stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on that I encourage people to look at it from a view of compassion, because there are people that are just straight up spewing vileness that you cannot reach in all of this. Some of these activists are pretty intense, but there's also a lot of people following it that genuinely do have a heart for people and want to help and want to heal their own hurts and heal the hurts of others. So I do encourage people to be gracious where you can,